Hello and welcome to The Crime Reel. I'm delighted to tell you that the brilliant true crime channel Briefcase has kindly agreed to narrate this week's story. If you are unaware of Briefcase and his true crime channel, where he specialises in covering older and unique cases, I urge you to go visit by using the link in the description and also the pinned post for this week. Over to you, Briefcase.
In 1991, Lonnie Kocontes and Micki Kanesaki worked at the same California law firm in Orange County. Lonnie was an attorney and Micki was a paralegal. The pair soon began dating, and 4 years later, on the 29th of November 1995, they got married. Micki suffered from severe arthritis, and as a result of this, had to stop working in 1996. She started to focus on various investments in order to earn money. She spent the majority of her time at the couple's home in Ladera Ranch in California. 3 years later, in July 1999, Lonnie was charged with lewd conduct on a teenage girl whom he had allegedly befriended at a South Pasadena public library. The charges were later dropped, and Lonnie maintained that the allegations were false. He successfully sued the girl for $1 million. However, this wasn't his first brush with the law. He had served 2 prison sentences in the late 1970s and early 80s, one for burglary, the other for possession and intent to deliver marijuana. In both cases, he served about 3 years. In 2001, after 6 years of marriage, Lonnie filed for divorce. The divorce was finalised the following year, and despite no longer being together, Lonnie and Micki both remained living in the house which they jointly owned. During this time, and unbeknown to Micki, Lonnie had become involved with another woman, Amy Gwen, who he had met on a dating website. With Lonnie and Micki now trying to agree how to split their assets, and then Micki becoming aware that Lonnie had become involved with Amy, the relationship between the pair started to become increasingly hostile. Micki was arrested twice for violence against Lonnie and was ordered to attend a domestic abuse program. In July 2005, Lonnie married his new partner Amy in Las Vegas and moved to Orange County to live with her. After just 2 months of marriage, he filed for divorce. At around the same time, Lonnie asked for the court to force Micki to sell the home which they jointly owned, so he could take his share of the profits from the property. Micki resisted this sale. She argued that she was entitled to keep the house, as she had been the one who had paid the mortgage. When neither of them showed up at the court hearing, the case was dismissed. Unable to reach an agreement with regards to the sale of the house, Lonnie moved back into their joint home. In January 2006, Micki was charged with battery after repeatedly kicking Lonnie in the leg. She enrolled herself in anger management classes and attended Alcoholics Anonymous. An arrangement was scheduled for July that year. Despite all this, surprisingly, the relationship between the pair appeared to be improving, and they made plans to go on holiday together. Before doing so, they updated their wills, making the other the executor of their estates. They booked to go on a European cruise, which was planned in detail by Lonnie. He decided upon a balcony room on a cruise ship called Island Escape, which was relatively basic, having been converted from a ferry boat. This holiday was out of character for Lonnie, as he was notoriously careful with his money. On the 21st of May 2006, the couple flew from the USA to Spain. They later boarded their cruise ship, which was sailing to Italy. On the 25th of May, they went on a daytime excursion into the town of Messina. After returning to the ship, they had dinner and shared a bottle of wine. They then went to a show and spent some time in the ship's casino. They then went back to their cabin before their planned visit to the city of Pompeii the following day. The next morning, when Lonnie awoke, Micki was nowhere to be seen. At 6 a.m, he notified the crew that he could not find her. After a detailed search of the ship, it was determined that Micki was missing. The ship then made an unscheduled stop in the port of Naples, where the Italian authorities boarded. Lonnie was interviewed, and he confirmed that the previous evening, the couple had returned to their cabin at around 11 p.m. Lonnie said that Micki had left their cabin an hour or so afterwards to get a cup of tea, and that he had taken a sleeping pill as he was still suffering from jet lag following their transatlantic flight. He added that when he woke the following morning, he was surprised that Micki was not in their cabin. He also confirmed that Micki had been suffering from depression and had often talked about not wanting to live anymore, particularly when she had been drinking alcohol, which he had done the previous evening. However, he also stated that the two of them were currently in a very happy place, having recently reconciled, and were even planning to remarry on their wedding anniversary, which was the 29th of November. The Italian authorities saw no suggestion of foul play. They helped Lonnie to find accommodation in Naples, where surprisingly, he remained for just one night. On the morning of the 27th of May, just 24 hours after Micki's disappearance, Lonnie flew back to California, claiming that he wasn't getting any answers about her disappearance from the Italian authorities and that he was struggling with the language difference. That afternoon, whilst Lonnie was still on his flight back home, 48-year-old Micki's body washed up off the coast of Paolo in Italy. It was soon established that Micki had neither fallen or jumped overboard. She had been murdered. The autopsy revealed that she had suffered injuries to the base of her neck from a violent action that was continued for a period of time, as well as a blunt force injury to her head. The injury was caused by something with a convex surface, such as a wine bottle. Micki's lungs were filled with air, as she was already dead by the time she had hit the water. Because of this, her body floated, which enabled it to be discovered and the cause of death established. The FBI had their suspicions as to Lonnie's involvement in Micki's death. However, they were unable to prove that Lonnie had murdered his ex-wife. On the day that Micki's body was discovered, when Lonnie returned to the USA, he did not go back to the home which they had shared together in Ladera Ranch, instead returning to live with his second ex-wife, Amy, and they resumed their relationship. Lonnie simply got on with his life. In October 2006, he bought a $600,000 house in Cypress Hollow Court, Safety Harbor, Florida, as he wanted to be closer to his ailing father, splitting his time between the East and West Coasts. He later moved to Florida and married for a third time in 2007. In 2008, he tried to transfer more than $1 million from Micki's accounts into accounts held by his new wife, raising suspicions of the FBI still further. They began investigating the money transfers for possible illegal activity, and ultimately they seized the money. Amy also went to the authorities to inform them that Lonnie had told her that he had asked a friend to kill Micki, and a former friend of Lonnie reported that Lonnie had spent a great deal of time looking into the security and CCTV systems on cruise ships prior to his trip. On the 15th of February 2013, more than 6 years after Micki's tragic death, Lonnie was arrested outside the shops at Wiregrass in Pasco County. He was charged with 1 count of murder for financial gain and was extradited back to California to face the charges. However, the trial was delayed for years due to the complexities of prosecuting with the various locations involved. It needed to be determined whether Orange County could try Lonnie for a killing that took place in international waters. It was established that the murder had been meticulously planned before the cruise had ever even been booked, and as this planning took place in California, Orange County had the right to bring Lonnie to justice. After extensive delays and a mistrial, the trial finally got underway in February 2020, but was subject to yet more interruptions due to the restrictions imposed by the COVID pandemic. At the trial, Lonnie maintained his innocence, stating that he loved Micki and had helped her manage her depression and would have never hurt her. His defense team claimed that she fell from the ship, either accidentally or intentionally, and the injuries which she sustained, including a broken neck, were as a result of that fall. The prosecution, however, brought in the testimony of the Italian doctor who had conducted the autopsy, who stated that Micki's injuries were caused by prolonged violent action, not from a fall. The prosecution also provided evidence that Lonnie had attempted to get two men to force his ex-wife Amy to sign a letter stating that the police had made her lie about Lonnie's involvement in Micki's death, and then once the letter was signed, they would kill her. In June 2020, 14 years after Lonnie and Micki had taken the ill-fated cruise, the trial ended and the jury was sent out to deliberate. They did so for just 1 hour before returning to announce that they found Lonnie Kocontes guilty of first-degree murder. On the 18th of September 2020, 62-year-old Lonnie was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole.
That concludes today's story. Please subscribe to the channel if you are new, and also thank you once again to Briefcase for providing today's narration. Please check out the links for his channel page on the pinned post. Now we're going to petty crime. And now it gives me great pleasure to introduce you to Brief Cat. Oh yes, this is Briefcase's own cat, Brief Cat. Brief Cat is rather choosy about what he listens to on YouTube. If it's a Briefcase video, sits there all nice as pie. If it's someone else's, this is the typical reaction. Next time Briefcase releases a new video on Briefcase Monday, make sure you tell him you've seen Brief Cat and mention what channel you saw it on. Thanks very much for listening to The Crime Reel. Stay safe. Goodbye. Psst. On the cruise ship featured today, The Island Escape, that actually featured in a 10-part documentary made by ITV called Cruise Ship. Goodbye.